The war had begun. But in 1775, nobody knew how long or how bloody it would become. Let's quickly recap where we left off. Shots fired at Lexington and Concord, redcoats retreating under fire, and ordinary colonists realizing that there was no turning back. Once blood hit the soil, the fight wasn't about taxes anymore. It was about survival, dignity, and the future of a people. But here's the thing. At that moment, America wasn't America yet. It was still 13 separate colonies, each with its own identity, economy, and local politics. Unity wasn't natural. It had to be forged. By June of 1775, militias had surrounded Boston, trapping British forces inside the city. Reinforcements from Britain arrived, and the stage was set for the first major battle, Bunker Hill. Now picture this. The colonists hastily built fortifications on Breed's Hill, overlooking the city. They were short on ammo, short on training, and had no navy. The British? Thousands of professional troops supported by ships in the harbor. The outcome seemed obvious, but then came the famous command, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." The colonial militia held their ground. When the British advanced up the hill, the Americans unleashed devastating volleys. Waves of redcoats fell. The British attacked again. More blood spilled. On the third assault, the colonists finally ran out of powder and retreated. But the damage was done. Over 1,000 British casualties compared to fewer than 500 Americans. Think about that. Farmers and shopkeepers with barely any supplies had stood toe-to-toe with the most powerful army in the world and made them bleed. It wasn't a victory on paper, but it was a victory in spirit. It told the world, these colonists aren't going down easy. Imagine you're a farmer outside Boston, and you just fought at Bunker Hill. You lost neighbors. You saw cannon fire for the first time in your life. Would you keep fighting, knowing Britain will come back harder? Or would you lay down your arms, figuring one battle was enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, across the ocean, King George III wasn't impressed. In August 1775, he declared the colonies in open rebellion. He sent more troops, more ships, and even hired Hessian mercenaries from Germany to crush the uprising. That move infuriated the colonists even further. It wasn't just Britain now, it was foreign soldiers marching through their streets, and while muskets roared in Massachusetts, another battle was being fought in Philadelphia, the Battle of Ideas. In early 1776, a pamphlet hit the colonies like a thunderclap, Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Written in plain, fiery language, it sold over 100,000 copies in just a few months, unheard of in a population of only 2.5 million. Paine didn't just argue against taxes, he argued against monarchy itself. He called kings royal brutes, declared that America had the right to govern itself, and painted independence not as a dream, but as common sense. Loyalist neighbor. But Britain protects us. Without them, France or Spain could invade. Patriot farmer. Friend, Britain doesn't protect us. They protect themselves, and we pay the bill. If we're strong enough to till this land, we're strong enough to defend it. This shift was huge. Before Paine, many colonists still hoped for reconciliation. After Paine, more and more began whispering the word independence out loud. So when the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia, the air was electric. Delegates like John Adams pushed for independence while others hesitated, fearing chaos and ruin. But eventually the tide turned. A committee was formed, including Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, Robert Livingston, and a tall, quiet Virginian named Thomas Jefferson. Their task? To draft a statement that would shake the world. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was adopted. The colonies didn't just demand better treatment. They declared themselves free states equal among nations. Jefferson's words rang out. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now let's be honest, not everyone was included in that promise. Women, enslaved people, and Native Americans were left outside the circle of equality. But at that moment, the idea of a nation built not on monarchy but on liberty was revolutionary. It lit a fire that would burn far beyond America's shores. So pause for a second. Imagine hearing those words for the first time in 1776. Would they fill you with hope? Or would you laugh at the audacity of declaring equality in a world run by kings? Comment your take. because this is where ideals met reality, and reality was brutal. The ink on the Declaration was barely dry before the British launched a massive counterattack. In the summer of 1776, they sent the largest expeditionary force Britain had ever assembled, over 30,000 troops and ships, to New York. George Washington, appointed commander of the Continental Army, faced them with a ragtag force of volunteers. The result? Disaster. Washington's army was outflanked and beaten in the Battle of Long Island. They barely escaped across the East River under cover of night. New York fell, and for months the Continental Army was chased across New Jersey, cold, hungry, and demoralized. Many thought the revolution was already doomed. Soldiers deserted. Loyalists cheered. The dream of independence looked like it was collapsing, but then came Christmas night, 1776. Washington took a desperate gamble. He led his men across the icy Delaware River and struck Hessian forces at Trenton. The surprise attack was a stunning victory, reviving morale. Days later, another win at Princeton proved the Americans weren't done yet. Washington wasn't just a commander, he was becoming a symbol of resilience. Imagine being one of those soldiers at Trenton, freezing, starving, boots falling apart. Washington says, "Follow me across the river in the dead of night. Would you go? Would you risk everything on one bold gamble? Or would you turn back, figuring no cause was worth dying in the snow?" The revolution dragged on year after year. It wasn't just battles. It was economics. Inflation soared, trade collapsed, and food shortages bit hard. Civilians sacrificed, sending supplies to the army, housing soldiers, and enduring constant uncertainty. The war wasn't fought only on battlefields. It was fought in kitchens, on farms, and in marketplaces. Then came 1777, and the turning point, Saratoga. British General Burgoyne marched south from Canada, hoping to cut New England off from the rest of the colonies. But American forces, led by Horatio Gates and Benedict Arnold, surrounded him. After brutal fighting, Burgoyne surrendered his entire army. Saratoga was more than a battlefield victory. It was proof to the world that America could stand against Britain. And it convinced France to join the war, bringing money, troops, and, most importantly, a navy. Suddenly, the balance shifted. Britain was no longer fighting a rebellion. They were fighting a global war. So here's the big question for you. Without France stepping in, do you think America could have won independence? Was it grit that won the day or foreign aid? Comment below. This debate still divides historians, but even with allies, the road was long. The winter at Valley Forge in 1777-78 tested Washington's army to the core. Men froze, starved, and died of disease. Yet under the training of Baron von Steuben, a Prussian officer, the ragtag militia was drilled into a disciplined fighting force. Out of suffering came strength, and after years of seesaw battles, everything led to Yorktown in 1781. Washington, with French allies, cornered General Cornwallis. French ships blocked the coast, cutting off escape. After weeks of siege, Cornwallis surrendered. The war was effectively over. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris recognized the United States of America as independent. A new nation had been born, not from kings or crowns, but from conviction, sacrifice, and ordinary people choosing to fight. The revolution wasn't perfect. It left contradictions. Liberty proclaimed while slavery continued. Equality declared while women were sidelined. But it planted seeds that would grow not just in America, but across the world. France, Haiti, Latin America, the echoes of 1776 rang everywhere. So what do you think? Was the American Revolution mainly about taxes and trade, or was it about something deeper? Dignity, rights, and identity? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Through this whole journey, from tea in Boston to muskets at Lexington to surrender at Yorktown, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves, because revolutions don't just belong to the past. They belong to all of us.